Listen to me very carefully. Right now, at this very moment, you are bleeding money. Not from some market crash, not from inflation, from five things you're buying that are absolutely destroying your ability to build wealth. And I'm going to tell you exactly what they are. I'm Kevin O'Leary, and I don't sugarcoat things when it comes to your money. I've been doing this for 40 years. And I can tell you right now, the difference between rich and broke has nothing to do with how much you earn. It has everything to do with what you stop buying. Here's what most people will never understand. You can make $200,000 a year and still be broke. You can make $50,000 a year and retire a millionaire. The numbers don't lie. It's not about what comes in, it's about what you stop from going out. I meet people all the time who tell me they can't save money, they can't invest, they can't build wealth. And when I look at their spending, I see the same five things over and over again. These are financial killers. These are wealth destroyers. And every single one of them is optional. The average American household is carrying over $100,000 in debt. Credit cards, auto loans, personal loans, that's a noose around their neck. And most of that debt came from buying things they didn't need with money they didn't have to impress people they don't even like. You want to know why 78% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck? It's not because they don't earn enough. It's because they spend on garbage. They spend on things that make them feel rich while actually making them broke. I'm going to show you the five things that are bleeding you dry, and I'm going to give you the cold, hard data on why you need to stop buying them right now. This isn't theory. This is 40 years of watching smart investors build fortunes and broke people wonder why they can't get ahead. The first thing you need to stop buying is a new car when you can't afford it. And let me be clear about what can't afford means, because most people lie to themselves about this. Here's my rule. It's the only rule that matters when it comes to buying a car. If you cannot buy the car 3 times over in cash, you cannot afford that car. Period. End of story. Let me say that again. If you cannot write a check for that car 3 times over and still have money left in your account, you have no business buying it. The average new car payment in America right now is $736 per month. For 6 years, that's $52,992 you're paying for a depreciating asset. You know what a new car is the moment you drive it off the lot. It's worth 15 to 20% less than what you just paid. You just lit $4,000 to $8,000 on fire in the first 10 minutes of ownership. But here's where it gets worse. Most people are financing these cars at 5, 6, 7% interest. They're underwater on the loan within the first year. They owe more than the car is worth, and they're locked into this payment for the next 72 months. I see people making $60,000 a year driving $50,000 trucks. The math doesn't work. It will never work. They're paying almost their entire annual income just to drive something that loses value every single day. Here's what smart investors do. They buy used cars, 3 to 5 years old. They pay cash, or if they finance for no more than 3 years at the lowest possible rate, and they drive that car into the ground. I drove a used car for years when I was building my first company. You know why? Because I understood that every dollar I put into a depreciating asset was a dollar I couldn't invest in an appreciating asset. The car gets you from point A to point B. That's it. It doesn't build wealth. You want to get rich? Stop buying new cars you can't afford. Follow the 3 times rule. If you can't buy it 3 times over in cash, you can't afford it. The second thing, destroying your wealth, is eating out all the time. This one sneaks up on people because they think it's just $20 here, $30 there. But when you add it up, it's financial suicide. The average American household spends $3,608 per year on eating out. That's $300 per month. Gone, evaporated. For food you could make at home for a fraction of the cost. But it's worse than that, because most people aren't average. I see people spending $500, $600, $700 a month on restaurants, takeout, and food delivery. That's $7,000 to $8,000 per year. Do you know what $7,000 invested every year for 30 years becomes? At a 10% return, that's $1.2 million. You're eating your retirement, literally. Now, I'm not saying never go to a restaurant. I'm not saying you can't enjoy a nice meal, but here's the discipline you need. You budget for it. You plan for it. You don't do it out of laziness or convenience. Most people eat out because they didn't plan their week. They didn't shop. They didn't prep. So they come home tired and they order $40 worth of food that cost $8 to make. That's not wealth building. That's wealth destruction. Here's what I do. I plan my meals. I know what I'm eating for the week. I shop once. I prepare in bulk. And when I eat out, it's a choice, not a default. It's a planned expense, not an emergency solution to poor planning. And food delivery? That's even worse. You're paying a premium for the food, plus delivery fees, plus tips, plus service charges. A $20 meal becomes $35. That's a 75% markup for convenience. You want to build wealth? Cook at home, plan your meals, stop bleeding money on food you could make for one-fourth the cost. The discipline here is simple. Meal prep Sunday. Know what you're eating. Eliminate the decision fatigue that makes you order takeout. The third thing you need to stop buying is too much house. This is the biggest wealth killer I see. People stretching themselves to buy houses they cannot afford because they think real estate always goes up. That's garbage. That's what broke people tell themselves right before they lose everything. Financial advisors used to say you could afford a house that costs 3 times your annual income. Now people are buying houses at 6, 7, 8 times their income. That's insane. That's financial disaster waiting to happen. I see people making $100,000 a year buying $600,000 houses. They're putting every penny into the mortgage payment. They're house rich and cash poor. And when something breaks, when property taxes go up, when they need a new roof, they have nothing. They go into debt. Here's my rule on housing. Your total housing cost, mortgage, property taxes, insurance, maintenance should never exceed 25% of your gross income. Never. Not 30%, not 35%, 25% maximum. Why? Because you need to be able to save. You need to be able to invest. You need to be able to handle emergencies without going into debt. When you're spending 35 or 40% of your income on housing, you have no margin. You have no safety net. You're one job loss away from catastrophe. But here's what people do. They get approved for a mortgage based on what the bank says they can afford. And the bank doesn't care about your retirement. The bank doesn't care about your ability to invest. The bank cares about getting you to take the biggest loan possible because that's how they make money. Can you actually afford this house if something goes wrong? Are you buying because you need a place to live or because you're afraid of being priced out forever? Are you making a smart financial decision or an emotional one driven by fear? I've seen this movie before. I saw it in 2008. People were buying houses they couldn't afford because everyone told them real estate only goes up, and then it didn't. And millions of people lost everything. Here's what smart investors do. They buy less house than they can afford. They keep their housing costs low. They take the difference and they invest it. They build wealth. They create cash flow. And when opportunity comes, they have the capital to take advantage of it. You don't build wealth by buying the biggest house the bank will approve you for. You build wealth by living below your means and investing the difference. The fourth thing destroying your wealth is buying unnecessary clothes and luxuries to impress people who don't matter. This is pure ego spending. This is buying things you don't need with money. You don't have to impress people you don't even like. The average American buys 68 new pieces of clothing per year. 68. That's more than one new item every single week. And most of those clothes get worn 7 times or less before they're thrown away or forgotten. The fashion industry has convinced people that they need to constantly update their wardrobe. They need the latest styles. They need the newest brands. That's marketing. That's not wealth building. I wear the same suits. I wear the same shoes. I buy quality once and I wear it for years. You know why? Because nobody cares what I'm wearing. Nobody is paying attention to whether I bought a new jacket this season. They care about what I know. They care about what I can do for them. They care about my results. But people spend thousands of dollars a year on clothes they don't need. Designer handbags, luxury watches, expensive shoes, trying to look rich instead of being rich. Here's the brutal truth. If you're buying luxury goods on credit, you're not rich. You're broke with expensive taste. Real wealthy people don't need to signal their wealth with logos and brands. They know their bank account. That's all that matters. And it's not just clothes, it's all the unnecessary luxuries. The latest phone every year, the expensive gadgets, the home decor that needs to be updated constantly, the stuff that sits in your house and loses value. Every dollar you spend on things you don't need is a dollar you can't invest. It's a dollar that can't grow. It's a dollar that disappears forever instead of compounding and building your wealth. I'm not saying live like a monk. I'm not saying never buy anything nice, but here's the discipline. You buy quality. You buy things that last. You buy things you actually use, and you stop buying things just to feel temporarily better about yourself. Warren Buffett still lives in the same house he bought in 1958 for $31,500. You know why? Because he understands that wealth isn't about what you show. It's about what you keep and what you grow. You want to build wealth? Stop trying to look rich and start trying to be rich. Cut the unnecessary spending. Stop buying things to impress people. Invest the difference. The fifth thing you need to stop buying is memberships you don't use. Gym memberships, streaming services, subscription boxes, app subscriptions, all those little monthly charges that add up to massive wealth destruction. The average American has 12 paid subscriptions, 12 different monthly charges, and research shows that people underestimate their monthly subscription spending by over 40%. They think they're spending $30 a month. They're actually spending $237 a month. That's $2,844 per year on subscriptions, and most of them you barely use. The gym membership is the classic example. People pay $40, $50, $60 a month for a gym membership they use maybe 5 times a year. That's $240 just to feel guilty about not going to the gym. But it's everywhere now. Streaming services. You've got Netflix, Hulu, Disney Plus, HBO Max, Amazon Prime, Apple TV Plus. You're paying $70, $80, $90 a month to watch television. And you wonder why you can't save money. Magazine subscriptions, software subscriptions, cloud storage, premium apps, meal kit delivery services you don't use, wine clubs, coffee subscriptions. It goes on and on. Here's what happens. You sign up for something. It charges your card automatically every month. You forget about it. And 6 months later, you've paid $300 for something you used once. Companies know this. They count on this. They make it easy to sign up and annoying to cancel. They bet that you'll forget about it and just keep paying. And most people do. I audit my subscriptions every single quarter. Every 3 months, I go through every recurring charge on my credit card and I ask myself, am I using this? Is this providing value? Could I live without it? And if the answer is no, I'm not using it, or I could live without it, I cancel it immediately. No hesitation, no guilt, gone. You know what I found? Most subscriptions are selling convenience you don't need or entertainment you don't consume. You're paying for optionality. You're paying for the option to use something someday. That's not wealth building. That's wealth destruction. Here's the discipline. Cancel everything right now. Cancel every subscription. Then, over the next month, add back only what you actually miss, only what you actually use. Everything else is waste. If you're not going to the gym 3 times a week minimum, cancel it. Work out at home, go for a run, do body weight exercises. You don't need $40 a month to stay in shape. If you have 5 streaming services and you only watch one, cancel the other 4. You can always resubscribe for 1 month if there's a show you want to watch. Stop paying for content you're not consuming. If you cut just $150 per month in subscriptions and invest that money over 30 years at 10% return, that's $338,000. You're giving away $250,000 for memberships you don't use. That's the real cost. That's what this is actually costing you. Not just the monthly fee, the compounded wealth you're never going to build because you're too lazy to cancel a gym membership. Now, let me tie this all together because this isn't about individual purchases. This is about a mindset. This is about discipline versus impulse. This is about building wealth versus looking wealthy. Every single one of these 5 things has something in common. They're all optional. Nobody is forcing you to buy a new car. Nobody is forcing you to eat out 5 times a week. Nobody is forcing you to buy a house you can't afford or clothes you don't need or memberships you don't use. These are choices. These are decisions. And every single one of these decisions is either moving you closer to wealth or further away from it. There's no middle ground. When I was building my education software company, we had this one employee who made $60,000 a year. Good salary, comfortable income, but he was always broke, always asking for advances, always complaining about money. I sat down with him one day and we went through his expenses. New car payment, $600 a month, eating out almost every day, $400 a month, apartment way too expensive for his income, $1,800 a month, designer clothes and watches, $300 a month, gym membership he never used, streaming services, subscriptions, $200 a month. He was spending $3,300 a month on these 5 categories alone. That's $39,600 per year out of a $60,000 salary. After taxes, he was taking home maybe $42,000. He was spending almost his entire take-home pay on these 5 things. No savings, no investments, no emergency fund, living paycheck to paycheck on $60,000 a year. I showed him the math. I showed him what would happen if he cut these expenses in half. If he bought a used car and cut his payment to 300, if he cooked at home and spent 200 on food, if he moved to a cheaper apartment at 1300 a month, if he cut the unnecessary clothes to 100 a month, if he canceled the useless subscriptions, that would save him $1,500 per month, $18,000 per year. Invested at 10% return over 30 years, that's $3.3 million. He looked at me like I was speaking a foreign language. He couldn't imagine not having the new truck. He couldn't imagine cooking his own food. He couldn't imagine living in a smaller apartment. That's the broke mentality. That's why 78% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck, not because they don't earn enough, because they spend on things that make them feel good today while destroying their financial future. The wealthy think differently. The wealthy understand delayed gratification. They understand that every dollar has a job, that every dollar is either working for you or working against you. When you buy a new car that loses value, that dollar is working against you. When you invest that dollar and it grows at 10% per year, that dollar is working for you. It's that simple. Here's another example. I know a couple who makes $90,000 combined. They live in a modest house they bought for $200,000. Their mortgage payment is $1,000 a month. They drive used cars they paid cash for. They cook at home 6 days a week and eat out once as a treat. They buy quality clothes that last and they wear them for years. They have one streaming service and a gym membership they actually use 3 times a week. Their total spending on these 5 categories is about $1,800 a month. That leaves them enough money to max out their IRAs, contribute to their 401ks, build an emergency fund, and invest in a taxable brokerage account. They're going to retire millionaires, not because they earn a lot, because they spend smart. That's the difference. That's what separates wealth builders from wealth destroyers. And here's what people don't understand. Once you build this discipline, it gets easier. You stop wasting time on things that don't matter. You stop investing energy in purchases that bring no value. You become efficient. You become focused. Your life gets simpler and your wealth grows faster. I don't think about buying new cars. I don't think about eating out every night. I don't think about buying clothes I don't need. Those decisions are already made. I have a system. I have discipline. And that discipline freed up mental energy and capital to invest in things that actually grow. The math is simple. The execution is hard because you're fighting against every advertisement, every social pressure, every impulse that tells you to spend now and worry about the future later. But the future comes. It always comes. And when it does, you're either prepared or you're not. You either have wealth or you have excuses. Let me summarize what we've covered because this is critical to your financial future. Thing number 1, stop buying new cars you can't afford. Follow the 3 times rule. If you can't buy it 3 times over in cash, you can't afford it. Buy used, pay cash, drive it for 10 years. Thing number 2, stop eating out constantly. Plan your meals, cook at home, save $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 a year and invest it. That's your retirement you're eating. Thing number 3, stop buying too much house. Keep your housing costs at 25% of gross income or less. Live below your means. Invest the difference. Thing number 4, stop buying unnecessary clothes and luxuries to impress people who don't care. Buy quality. Buy things that last. Stop trying to look rich and start trying to be rich. Thing number 5, stop paying for memberships you don't use. Cancel the subscriptions. Audit your recurring charges every quarter. Stop giving away money for services you don't consume. This is about discipline. This is about making smart decisions based on cold, hard data, not emotion, not social pressure, not fear of missing out. You implement these 5 changes and you will save thousands of dollars every month, tens of thousands every year, hundreds of thousands over a decade, millions over a lifetime. The numbers don't lie. The math works. It has always worked. It will always work. The question is, do you have the discipline to do it? Do you have the mental toughness to say no to instant gratification so you can say yes to long-term wealth? Because I can give you the information. I can show you the path, but you have to walk it. You have to make these changes. You have to implement this discipline every single day for the rest of your life. That's how wealth is built. Slowly, methodically, with discipline and patience. Build that discipline. Protect your wealth. Stop buying these 5 things right now. If you found this valuable, if this information changed the way you think about money, I need you to do something for me right now. Smash that like button. Share this video with your friends and family. They need to hear this message. Most people are bleeding money on these 5 things and they don't even realize it. You could save someone from financial disaster just by sharing this video. Leave a comment. Tell me which of these 5 things is your biggest challenge. Tell me what you're going to cut first. Tell me your biggest obstacle to building wealth. I read every comment. This is a community. We learn from each other. And if you haven't subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button right now. Become a member of this community. We're building an army of smart investors who understand that protecting your wealth is just as important as making it. Consider becoming a member of this channel for exclusive content, deep dives on specific investments, analysis of market trends, real estate strategies, tax optimization, the advanced tactics that take you from building wealth to protecting and growing it at scale. We're building something here, a community of people who refuse to be broke, who refuse to live paycheck to paycheck, who understand that discipline beats income every single time. You are not destined to struggle with money. You are not destined to retire broke. You are capable of building significant wealth if you simply stop doing the 5 things that are destroying your ability to save and invest. Cut the new car. Cut the eating out. Cut the big house. Cut the luxury spending. Cut the unused memberships. Take that money and invest it. Build your wealth. Secure your future. Stay smart. Stay disciplined. And remember, the market doesn't care about your feelings, but if you position yourself correctly with discipline and patience, you will build the wealth you deserve.